The story begins in an upscale apartment in Bournemouth, England. Behind closed doors, 27-year-old Danielle Thomas and her boyfriend, former rugby star Greg Reardon, seemed like the perfect couple. But what no one knew was how fragile that illusion really was. Friends noticed the signs first: the constant check-ins, the way her phone never stopped buzzing, the way she smiled nervously when he called. Danielle had started to feel watched, even inside her own home. But she brushed it off. Love, after all, could explain anything. One night in May 2009, the calm shattered. A neighbor heard something, a faint crash, then silence. Nothing more. For days, Danielle didn't answer her phone. When police finally entered her apartment, they found her lying on the floor, surrounded by shards of glass and blood. The walls were streaked with struggle marks. At first, suspicion turned to Greg, her boyfriend. He denied everything, claimed she'd been distant, claimed he'd left before anything happened. But detectives weren't convinced. They dug deeper. That's when they found something he couldn't explain: Danielle's phone hidden behind a cabinet, filled with terrified messages she'd never sent. In her notes app were fragments of fear. "He's losing control. He's angry again. I can't leave." But the true breaking point came from an ordinary piece of evidence: a broken wine glass. Forensics lifted fingerprints embedded in dried blood, and they didn't belong to Danielle. They belonged to him. Greg was arrested. In court, he tried to paint himself as the victim of passion, claiming he'd simply lost control. But the truth was colder. He had strangled her in a fit of jealousy, then staged the scene to look like an accident. When the verdict came, the courtroom was silent. Guilty of murder. Life in prison. Danielle's story became a grim warning: how easily love can blur into obsession, how silence can become a trap, and how even the people we trust most can turn into monsters when control slips through their hands. Subscribe if you dare to look inside the darkest corners of the human mind. Some truths hide behind a familiar smile.